This is where the fun begins.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Say my name.
And here we go.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Realish. I am Derrick.
Yeah, but I'm Derrick's co-host, Matt.
Yes, sir. And we're being joined today with one of my very, very good friends. She's known me since before I had a beard or a mustache. Bianca Durant, how you doing?
I'm good. I wish we could like flash a pic of just like you, beardless, looking like 11 years old.
I look like a muskrat. So
next time, I'm just gonna have that. Like share my screen and just have it.
Yeah, those are horrible times. Such a big head and a small body. So I'm glad
you worked it out.
Grew right into the head. So yeah, but I'm glad you were able to finally join us today.
Thank you.
Before we get into it, let's go ahead and do some housekeeping real quick. If you guys are watching the show, that means you're on our YouTube channel. So please go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell for any updates on the channel. We have plenty of shows for you guys to watch. If anything you're into with music, movies, sports, anything of the sort, you will be able to find anything on our OTS channel. So please subscribe. Follow on all social media platforms, OTS Media Co. All social media platforms. We actually just got a TikTok, and I don't know what to do with it. So OTS Media Co. OTSmediaco.com. Check out the website for all updates, articles, and other things with other shows as well. And we are also being sponsored by Champ No. 1 Boxers. So please go out and get a comfortable pair of boxers for yourself or your lady. It's the best pair of boxers I've ever worn. So Black-owned company. So if you want to be able to go check that out, go ahead, check out the link in our bio. You'll be able to support 2 Black-owned businesses at one time. So please go ahead and get something for the champ in your life. All right. That was actually the best one we've done so far. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Matt, what's up with the entertainment news today, bro?
Yeah. So we can go ahead and go over this agenda. So first and foremost, we'll be discussing Neve Campbell's decision not to return to Scream 6. And then the second part we'll be discussing today is Netflix has been in active development of a live action One Piece series. And so I sort of wanted to ask a broader question, which is, can animes actually be adapted into live action, or will they always be on the level of like a Dragon Ball Evolution? Or I'm sure you can give a wealth of other poor examples of how not to do things. But I guess we'll speak to the latter first. I sort of wanted to poke both of your brains about Campbell's decision and sort of what that implies for the future of the franchise.
Yeah. Big anything for that?
I'm just over, honestly, any sort of reboots and just I don't need it anymore. And so for me, I'm just not as invested in them as I feel that they could be. I feel like there's just so many good new stories that people are developing, and I get like the making money off of, older developments and things like that. But I just really want to see new things. And so I definitely understand, what that means for that. I'm not coming back to the franchise, but like I need something other than the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because it seems like Hollywood has this thing where they want to just regurgitate stories almost every 10 years or franchises, or try to go back in for the nostalgia effect. But I think part of her reason though was also pay. So I think, and this is a great thing actually, because we're in a time where women are actually speaking up about discrepancies in pay, especially for these types of projects. And you've been one of the staples for the franchise. It makes sense that you're one of the highest paid on the film. So I mean, money talks, man. She'll come back if they pay her. She'll come back if they pay her.
Yeah.
But is it necessary that we need another one?
I mean, that's a good point about the pay, because there's just been so many shows where your favorite character dies off or something happens, and then you sort of find out later on it's because they didn't pay me, they didn't want to renew my contract, they didn't do it to the terms, and so it really didn't have anything to do with the creativity aspect of it. It really was just like you said, money talks, which can always help or hurt a franchise depending, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're making money too. Like it's not like this franchise isn't making any money.
Right.
They're obviously making some if you're coming out with all these movies.
Exactly. I mean, but sometimes it forces a new storyline out of the writers and directors. So maybe we'll get something new, something fresh that we've never seen before. Which, like I said, if we're gonna reboot it, let's get something fresh on the screen.
See, like I think there's a place for Scream. I think there's a place for it. My problem is, in 2022, can you shoot that the same way as you did in the 90s? No, you can't.
No, you can't make the same jokes. You can't.
I don't want to see that. If you're gonna bring it back, do it to the best of its ability. That was my problem with the Matrix Resurrections. You can't lean on absolute disgrace.
Yeah,
if you're going to bring something back, you can't lean on nostalgia to be the driving force behind the project. The story has to make sense. The technology has to look great in terms of green screen or camera work. Like everything has to look good. It has to fit the modern day. You can't just lean on shooting it the same way you shot it back in the 90s. It doesn't work.
I like what they did with the Fresh Prince, though. Where they added an element of drama to the show. People complained about it because it didn't have that same nostalgia. But at the same time, like, you've got to give them credit for taking a storyline or a group of characters that we've seen before and giving us, some drama, some characters, something more modern. I think I do like that.
There were elements of nostalgia in it, but they made it their own.
Absolutely.
The nostalgia wasn't the driving force. Like, you can have nostalgia to be a part of the project, but you can't have that be the thing that drives everything. Like, I'm not going to sit here and want to watch great example. I promise you, if Michael Keaton is in this new Flash movie as Batman and still looking the same way he did in the 80s, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that, man. I want him to look old because Michael Keaton is what, 70? Yeah, like, I mean, let's be realistic here. I know it's a comic book film, but be realistic. That's my problem. I don't want to see something that I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm older.
You know what?
You get older.
It's a weird transition a little bit, but it kind of is what you were talking about. That's exactly what Adele was saying with her music. She was like, why am I trying to make music for 14-year-olds? The people who grew up on me are grown. They have developed. They have been through a divorce. So I feel like artists who are growing with us, and even having nostalgia as like a character in the background and not necessarily what drives the show is something that they should lean on. Definitely.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
It makes
she
sense.
was like, I'm not making TikToks.
And I think even a bigger concern too is, we can sort of voice our disagreements with studios developing remakes and such, but where is the same energy for original properties, right? Because we have to come into question, social media is a very powerful tool, and obviously a huge driving force to how certain projects are brought to light.
Right, that's true.
But sort of, I mean, I see a number of things online of independent films. Like, I had to get A24 for instance.
I was just gonna say, great independent film companies.
So you look at
they're doing some really good stuff.
Yeah, you look at Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think grossed $85 million at the box office. It became the highest grossing film from their studio. So there's clearly an audience who wants to like access like something new. But the problem is you sort of see a cinema dominated by superhero or, as we discussed, franchise-driven films, and they take up a majority of theaters, and I mean, that leads into an entirely separate conversation, but it's an important one to have, as hopefully upcoming filmmakers feel more confident in getting their films out there in a theatrical setting as opposed to other methods.
Yeah. See, that's like, I wish that the film or TV industry would actually do what the music industry is doing. Like, we're not sitting here 10, 15, 20 years later listening to, like, Jay-Z's music is not the same as it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
He has the same feel in terms of lyricism, but he's grown. So in his art, you've seen a reflection of his growth. I don't know why Hollywood is stuck in this era of just regurgitation. I don't want to see the same thing over and over again. Like, I don't want to, like, when I have kids, if I want them to see what I saw when I was a kid, I will show them what
absolutely.
I don't want them to see the exact same thing in their time as what I'm seeing. That doesn't make any sense.
It's kind of like a combination of what both of you guys are saying, just about what Matthew was saying, just about maybe it's just like people don't even know what they want anymore. They're just so used to getting what they want from the internet, from Twitter, from Instagram, that maybe they just don't even know that the new content is what they want. But going off of your point, the new content is bringing money in as well too. Yeah. So it's sort of like, are you taking a gamble, on trying new content? But at the same time, it's just like, people, it's so funny because people complained, I remember, about the new Lion King being like 2 live action, and I'm like, that's so weird, because if you wanted to see an animated one, we got that back in '94. You guys just popped that right into the DVD player. It's gonna hit the same way, I promise.
It will.
Y'all being like the live action is too live.
And you know what's funny about the live action one though? I felt like it told Scar's story better.
Yeah.
I felt like I understood Scar more in the live action than I did in the animated one.
Which again, maybe even talks about the progression of Lion King was for children when it came out. Now we're older, so maybe we get a little bit more of the villain story because it was marketed towards a little bit of an older audience, which again, just like maybe these reboots are forcing people to look at things in a new way. But like, if it's the same old, I don't know if I want it. Especially if the people you love aren't coming back to the franchise.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point.
I would say, there's a quick tangent. I hated the live action Lion King movie.
Did you?
Like I gave that I gave that a 1 out of 5.
I didn't like it.
A 1 out of 5.
I think, thank God for Beyonce and her music just carrying it on her back.
I thought she was the worst part about it.
Oh.
Yeah, my problem is that they made. I'll give an example. So I don't remember the exact song, but I think it's like, or I think it's just "Want to Be King." Sorry, this is a tangent, but we'll get back into our original discussion. That is like, in the animated version, the lyrics are succinct, so like everything falls in line with the beat. If you listen to the live action closely, it's like characters are speaking, but not in tune to the rhythmics. So I'll give an example.
Like the cadence is off.
The cadence is off. Like if you have to listen to it carefully.
Yeah.
And then another example is like, I watched a video. I think there's a moment where they actually didn't do something right in post production. So Simba's supposed to sing at like a G, I think it's like a G minor, and I think hits an F. So like he's singing a lyric, and he literally goes like "King" like that in the song if you listen to it. And none of that was picked up on. So I can't. So when I watch that moment, I can't help but think of.
Oh man.
You know what I mean?
Man.
Sorry, not to ruin the.
No, that's the good stuff. That's why you go back and rewatch films.
Yeah.
So that you pick up on things like that.
That's hilarious. I
didn't care for it.
Well, see, I thought I think they did shot for shot a lot in different scenes, but I thought they kind of evolved some form of the story as well. The problem that I had was Beyonce as Nala. I thought her music was beautiful. I don't want to hear your raspy voice as a young lioness, girl. That was horrible.
The music, I love it.
The music was perfect.
I did not need your. Who wanted a Houston Nala? Girl, please.
That was not good at all.
And even like, the thing I don't understand is why they sung Can't You Feel the Love Tonight in daytime.
Yeah.
We gotta move on because we because clearly we can do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I didn't
It
even.
can be done.
Yeah.
We all
I forgot
have the
all
notes.
about that.
Yeah. So so for anyone watching, the larger point, and I think this is sort of what we're alluding to, is remakes often do not capture the essence of the original, and so
Right.
we, to tie it back, to what I asked originally, being Scream. I never watched a Scream movie in my life. I plan on going the rest of my life without doing so, and so any attempt of Paramount to make another movie, go right ahead. I won't be exactly. I certainly won't be in the theater. But I just found it a bit questionable to not give your leading character, your leading actress, the right amount of money. I think it is mind-boggling to me, and I don't imagine your film will be as successful without her. So maybe negotiation will happen, maybe not. But it's a bizarre situation. Very bizarre.
For sure. Yeah, and again, I think it's mainly because she's a woman.
The coin. Yeah, they don't want to give her the coin.
Don't want to give her the money because she's a woman, and that to me doesn't even make sense. So they better wise up, because didn't they make a series out of that?
On MTV.
That's sad.
That's why
right.
I watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I watch on MTV is Catfish. Okay. All right. Well, we go ahead and move on from that then.
Yeah. And actually, interestingly, quite a bit of what we discussed is applicable to the live action One Piece series. So those are unaware, One Piece is a Japanese anime series spanning for over, I think 1,000+ episodes at this point, and Netflix is sort of taking on their own interpretation in spite of the very poor performance of their Cowboy Bebop live action series. And then during Netflix Geek Week, they announced, and they basically show some behind the scenes footage of them making what look to be very accurate sets of the ships they use in the show. And obviously, if you're familiar with the material, go right ahead, because I don't know any of the characters. But the question I did want to pose is, are animes truly capable of being adapted in live action, or are they so stylized to where you have a Western perspective on it? There's no way there might be a clear disconnect as to what the anime is supposed to be versus how someone thinks it should be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't need a live action anime. I think that part of anime that makes it awesome is being able to do things within the animation that you cannot do or adapt to real life. I just don't think that the best CGI in the world is going to give us some of the best fight scenes that anime has given us. I don't see it, and I don't understand why we need it. And I think that any show that's going to give you a lot of fight scenes, a lot of manipulated characters as far as facial features and things like that, it's just going to be, you're going to need the money, and people don't want to spend the money, so it's just going to be just not as good. And so for me, I'm just I'm not really seeing it.
Yeah, I don't know much at all. You said One Punch, right?
No.
Is that what this is?
And One Punch, I know. One Piece, same thing. I don't know a whole lot about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know anything about anime. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know anything about anime.
That's a good place to start.
So, but stylistically, I can't see that being
exactly
do. Because that's gonna take. I would have to imagine any shot with someone doing a kick and they do that. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a shot in anime where you see the character floating in air.
Yeah,
and it's just all this wisping type of thing or motion around them.
Oh, I know
you're not gonna be able to do that in CGI and make it look good. It's gonna look corny as hell. For it to actually look good, that's gonna be a lot of money.
They couldn't even get the live action Powerpuff Girls together, so I'm not really seeing how we gonna make anime come together. Y'all can't even make 3 girls floating in the sky look good.
Yeah, it's
That's a great point.
We're not thinking things through. It's
It's
fine.
just-
We'll email this right on to the people who it needs to be sent to. We're gonna send them the link to this so that they'll be able to think some things through with us.
Yeah, I
forgot about Powerpuff Girls.
Exactly.
Yeah, the script.
Oh my god.
The script link for that actually. And we're usually allowed to. I try to refrain from cursing, but it was probably the biggest piece of dog shit I've ever read.
Exactly.
And I mean the absolute disrespect because
And then
it
the
reaches a
photos
point.
linked.
Yeah. I don't blame the actors, but it says something when one of your main stars leaves.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. God have mercy on a
That was
CW.
that was a CW too, right?
Yep.
A mess
That's
from
why.
the jump.
That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, if you're gonna do something like that, you need to have a huge production behind it. That needs to be, yeah, because I can't imagine that being the budget being any lower than like 190 million.
The CW who gave us like Smallville and all the other little kind of weird shows.
Well, Smallville was amazing though.
Look at you. Look at you.
No, that's the best thing.
For what it was
at
the time.
That was the best.
It is.
Look, I'm in the
corny.
wrong group because I didn't realize I was in a Smallville fan group.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No,
That's
you're
what made me
listen,
actually
yeah,
like
right,
Superman.
yeah,
I
right.
hated
Something
Superman
else
before
came
that.
off of mute and we're like, actually, great piece of cinema. I apologize, truly.
Yeah, no, you're all good. But yeah, it sort of reminds me. I guess this whole like anime cartoon conversation is like I think of Attack on Titan because I finished watching all the various parts. I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they have something called ODM gear, which allows characters to like slowly connect the buildings and so forth. I think to myself, that might be the most expensive movie of all. Like to actually capture the various movements and having these massive Titan creatures who are, I mean, God knows how tall, right? You need a visionary behind that project. And I know they're making one. They're in development of a live action movie. That's not getting off the ground. I don't see a reality where, because I think this, and the thing is too, it's so, the style is so specific.
Yes.
You have a lot of monologues, narration that for audiences who are unfamiliar with the medium will think is very cringy. It's a style. If you don't like one anime, you will not like any.
Yeah.
And that's the fact of the matter. Everyone is different, like tonally, from a, tonally and obviously from a narrative standpoint, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay to say. It has a very specific audience that it appeals.
There are some you could do it with. I'm trying to think of ones that rely less on like fight scenes. I don't know if you guys ever watched Dr. Stone. That was a good one. That science. And so because of that, it has a lot of elements of like just cool scientific things happening, not a whole lot of fighting. Obviously it's anime, it does have some fight scenes in it, but I'm thinking ones like that. But then I'm also thinking about other ones that are all fight. Like I'm thinking of like a Jujutsu Kaisen, a One Punch Man, where it's like, we are here to fight people. I'm really not seeing it come together. So like I said, I'd be, you need the money. I just would have to think of the budget you would need.
That has to be like close to like 200 million. I don't see how you get away with doing anything less. That's a lot of visual effects.
If anyone's gonna have it, it's gonna be Netflix.
I don't even know.
I can't think of anybody else that would just.
Universal would do it. Universal would do it. Universal is willing to put big money behind anything.
Yeah, what are they talking about? You brought in the aspect of like Western. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
I'm so sorry. You froze for a second and then you caught up.
Oh, okay.
That's a good point. Universal. I could see that.
Yeah. No, what were you about to say though?
It's interesting too because we're not even considering, like Japanese-based companies or anybody that is actually that anime is based on.
We
makes
need
sense.
The creators need to be involved. And that's the fact of the matter. Like they need their imprint on every version of the script, every step of the production, whether it comes to filming, even if you head back to the writer's room to make edits, costume design, etc. Like you need an authentic experience, especially for longtime fans. And now, can One Piece be the exception? Like, will it be like the crowning jewel of live action? To be honest, it can be. It's not a very high, margin to beat because what have we been getting in the past few years? Nothing particularly good, and I can't even cite examples other than Dragon Ball Evolution. And if there had been, you have like Death Note that came out. Look at the critical reception and fan response. Ghost in the Shell. Same way. Dragon Ball Evolution, that we don't. I'm so sorry to anyone who watched that. But the fact of the matter is, we'll see. I think Hollywood just has to stop. Like there are some things you can't do. And if this is going to be another unsuccessful endeavor for Netflix or just studios in general, I think just pause the brakes and just develop anime within animation, like you were saying in the beginning.
We've seen what happens when creators of the content do not get on board with the content. It is not good. We thought that we were going to get another Boondocks, and the original writer never hopped on board until, and honestly, we were like, we don't want it. So there is plenty of, like the animated Avatar, like there's so many where we've seen just when the creators aren't involved with that next, it's never
Game
good.
of Thrones.
I don't have high hopes.
I'm glad you mentioned The Last Airbender, because that was I even said to myself, like after the movie came out, I said, no, I'm not taking a live action. And I saw, the original creators were involved. I said, okay, but my curiosity, peaked a bit. They left due to creative differences. I'm out.
Because why are you? The original was so successful. What could y'all possibly be? What's going on here?
That I will go on a limb and say that One Piece gets picked up for season 2, but Avatar gets canceled after season 1. Just because it's too expensive for Netflix.
Yeah.
And it was just not successful enough to warrant further seasons. I can see that happening. I think One Piece will miraculously get renewed. It'll be like one of the few exceptions, but I don't see those being sustainable projects for Netflix.
Yeah.
Especially for a company who's not really willing to do high budget projects, yet they make these weird exceptions. Well, it's just, I don't know. It's
And there's nothing wrong with a one season show. I feel like we're just not in the age of that. We're in the age of binging content. But HBO has given us a lot of fantastic one season shows. I just finished The Landscapers. Like they have given us some really good, just 4 or 5 episodes. Even Hulu does it with a lot of their crime documentaries, the crime based shows. So they'll just give us one season. There's nothing wrong with a quality show. Little Fires Everywhere, one season. Man. Fantastic. You know what I'm saying? So we don't always need to binge this content. Sometimes one season is fine. It's just we're in a capitalist society. It's just if they can keep making money off of it, they are.
And a lot of studios get very cocky when it comes to certain properties, and this is obviously something me and Derrick have talked about in the past. Is like studios are so close-minded, and don't have a true understanding of what audiences want half the time. And sometimes you can't do what the audience wants because then your stories become very predictable. But other times you sort of have to read the room and say, let's at least look at the source material, then develop the story to understand in some capacity. You can take liberties. I think creative liberties are always important, so that way the project is fresh in and of itself. But sometimes you deviate too off the course. Like, what am I watching? Am I watching a fanfic film or fanfic show? And you definitely don't want that when you're investing millions.
Yeah, and there's shows that have way too many seasons, and it's just like y'all could have ended this 2, 3, 4 seasons ago. So I'd be eager to talk about that. I'd be eager to talk about some really good one season shows next time.
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I was actually I was scrolling through Hulu last week, and I saw little fires everywhere.
Ooh.
I was like, man, I want to rewatch
the
that.
casting was good, the writing was good. It's good. And I read the book and I listened to the audiobook, and the subtle differences between it makes it just good enough for television. There are differences. It's not just like the book. But there, like I said, didn't take any crazy creative liberties, didn't stray too much. Just some really good subtle differences that made it better for television that just hit really well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Well, that's good to hear.
That's a great show. That's a phenomenal show. Yeah. We'll get into that the next time. That was a good one. Matt, you need to watch that.
Yeah, I have way too much to catch up on. I know, obviously, we're recording like the feature presentation episode, but yeah. When you hear what I've been trying to watch in the past, a week or so, I feel overwhelmed. I'll feel overwhelmed. So I'll keep it at that for now.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Dwayne from Past the Ox and Life's a Botch podcast. I'm coming to you with a real dope advertisement if you got a moment. Can we do that? Peep this. Yo, you tired of that uncomfortable feeling with your undergarments? You know what I'm talking about. Like, literally having to adjust so it gets real comfortable in between the real safe space. Or maybe just wedgies from just going underneath, you know what I mean? All that. Let's keep it in 100. Y'all know how I'm feeling. Y'all know how that feeling goes. Well, I want to introduce to you the ultimate solution coming from the #1 premium and fit athletic wear just for you. I'm talking about none other than Champ #1 Boxers. Champ #1 Boxers is a black-owned underwear brand, okay? They literally specify in giving you the most top-notch, high-quality, premium, adjustable, and fittable, and totally comfortable undergarment wear that is just for you. Not only is it something that you can wear, feel good in, feel confident in, and love, but it's also high quality, feels good, and most importantly, it is definitely fashionable, okay? Comes in a different, wide variety of so many different styles and themes to these undergarments. Something to make you look good, feel good, and swag real good in the process, all right? So, again, did I get to mention that this is also a black-owned brand? It's a black-owned brand, y'all, so if nothing else, definitely go support that 100%. So, what I want to do is I want to tell you, head on over to OTS Media Co. on all social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you go over, you click the link in the bios, it'll take you straight to the Champ #1 Boxers website. You can check out all their styles, you can check out their bundle deals, you can check out why this brand exists, what it's all about, and trust me when I say you do not want to miss out on the types of opportunities going on right now on the site. Champ #1 Boxers. Make sure you do it for the champ in your life if you ain't already doing it for yourself, champ. All right? Champ #1 Boxers. Make sure you go cop those. All right? All right.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. And for the second half of the episode, we'll be discussing the feature presentation today, All the Old Knives, starring Chris Pine. And I still don't know how to pronounce your first name, so Bianca, please feel free to do so. I was going to refer to her as Miss Newton for most of the podcast, just so I don't butcher her first name.
Tandy. It's
Tandy.
Tandy Way, but okay. She goes by Tandy. Tandy.
Okay. Thank you. Well, Court, before we get into that, I think the most important question of all is, what have you two been watching the past week?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm gonna try to get a collective list going in my head.
Okay. All right. Actually, I watched a new series starring your favorite guy, Andrew Garfield. What's it called? Under the Banner of Heaven on Netflix. I mean, Hulu.
You just started it?
No, I finished it. I just finished it.
I'm an episode behind. That's on my list too, man. That show is wild.
That's a ride. That's a ride. I didn't realize going in that it was discussing the Mormonism, religion, Mormon religion, I should say. And I think it's a good way to tell the story of Mormons through crime. So I enjoyed it. So Matt, I know you said that's one of your favorite guys. I'll be completely honest. I see the because I was comparing him to Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. I don't think I've seen much of him outside of Spider-Man. I think I saw a couple of films, but I don't remember it that well to say that he is on that level. But yeah, I love the emotion that he evoked in the show. So I got you on that one, man. I get exactly what you say. So
My favorite actor.
yeah.
Watch some of his Academy Award winning, Academy Award nomination works. Have you seen Hacksaw Ridge
No.
or Tick Tick Boom on Netflix?
Tick Tick Boom. I actually meant to go watch that. Is that a musical?
No.
It's not. Okay.
That's a good question, Bianca. Did he have musical numbers in the movie or?
Call it a musical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking of when I saw something promoted for it. I thought they were saying that it was a musical. So I tend to kind of like stay away from musicals. So I'm not. I'm just not. I'm not into them. I didn't watch. What was that play everybody's been raving about? Hamilton. I didn't watch that. I tried. I got 10 minutes into it. I said, yeah, that's a dud.
That is a musical.
That ain't for me.
Yeah. I watched far too many in my lifetime. And I think there's a large part because I worked as a stage crew member for high school productions.
Okay.
And whenever I go into watching like the movie version of a musical, I keep thinking this is on the quality of a high school from a story perspective. Like I can never take it seriously.
Yeah.
Even though I understand like the painstaking work that goes into doing choreography and filming those scenes in probably a shorter period of time than people think, but I respect the craft, but it is a craft I do not enjoy.
Not your preference.
I'll say it like that. Yeah. But how about you, Bianca? What have you been watching?
I've also been watching The Staircase on HBO. I love crime, true crime, fake crime, and this one's real. And I did this one a little bit backwards because I will usually watch the true crime documentaries first, and then watch it. I did that with the Hulu, The Girl from Plainville. I just finished that too. I did the same thing, but I watched this first, kind of knowing about the case. So it's very interesting watching it like dramatized, and then I'm gonna go back and watch the actual real case, but it's good. They had a smooth budget of $29 for wigs on that show. Nobody has a good wig. I mean,
that makes so much sense.
We went straight to Party City. We could not get a real frontal in our lives. We couldn't have contacted Tyler Perry for a wig or two. We didn't even do that. We went right to the local Party City and said, y'all do y'all thing. And it shows. But other than that, good show. Great cast.
Wait, are you serious? Did they actually have like...
I'm being very serious.
Wait, are you serious? The wigs are
the wigs are so bad.
They're bad.
Wow.
Especially because this is a cast you've seen before. You know these people's faces. Like you may not know them, from a whole lot of things. Like there was one of the characters was like obscurely from Scandal. I don't really know her from anything else, and she was on maybe 4 episodes. But as soon as I saw her, I knew who she was, and I would have known faster if she had taken that wig off. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I saw a quick clip of The Staircase with Sophie Turner.
Yes.
And
we're giving her brown wigs. We're giving her blonde.
Yeah. So
because it's over like 10, 20 years. So we're still alive.
Yes. And they're playing the same. They're having the actors play this. I hate that.
Yes.
But there's a show who does the opposite, where they anyways, I hate when they have actors play the 10 like a version of themselves 10 years in the future.
Yeah, and it's like they can kind of get away with it because when it starts, everyone is like grown, but they're still in college. So you know, even like 10 years out of college, you're looking different, you know. So
that's my problem with casting for certain characters, because when you're casting someone in college, there's no way that they should look like they're 35. At least coming out of high school, they should not look mid-30s, bro. That no.
There's so many actors and actresses too. There's so many new talents we've discovered over the last, I would even say, just through the pandemic. Like there's no excuse. But this
Jabari
show,
Parker is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. This show has a lot of people we've seen before. Like I said, even people just you've seen in your favorite shows in passing. So you can tell that the characters are big. And man, unfortunately, I feel like, and you were talking about it, Matthew, why we don't watch movies as much. I feel like because movies lately, if they're not reboots, they've been relying very heavily on the cast, making the story not very good. Yes. And it's just like, this would have been a great movie if you have taken the time to actually develop out some of these storylines instead of just relying on this really heavy hitter cast that you have.
Yeah, I agree. I saw The Staircase as well. That
it's wild, right?
I watched the docu series.
I gotta do that.
Like 3 years ago, I think. My ex made me my ex wanted to watch it, and so we watched it. I thought it was phenomenal, right? Colin Firth sounds just like Michael Peterson.
Really? I'm always wondering what this weird accent, and I'm like, it has to be for a reason because it's just very specific.
Yes, he sounds.
But it's like he's lived a life in Europe and in the States, so it hits. And he's in North Carolina, so there's that country in this. It's good. Okay, that's good to know.
He sounds just like him. Now everybody else, I don't really remember too much in terms of their voices, but yeah, because it's a story, it's his story. It makes sense that he's, you know, he sounds just like him. He doesn't look like him at all, but he sounds just like him, and I think that kind of that makes up for the lack of him looking visually like him, just like him. He looks like him in certain angles, but you know, like for the most part, you know, it's Colin Firth. That ain't Michael Peterson.
I mean, that's what we're paying for, that face.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll enjoy it though. You'll enjoy it. It's a very good docuseries. I want to say it's like 8 to 10 episodes, something like that. Really, really good.
I rewatched some movies. I love Wes Anderson. I know he's not for everybody as a director, but I rewatched what is it, Moonrise Kingdom. And I'm familiar. Yeah. Like I said, Wes Anderson is not for everybody. It's a very interesting, I mean, a lot of people have seen like Grand Budapest Hotel, which they just put back on HBO, so I'm excited to watch that again. But I'm always like, he makes movies that you can kind of go back and rewatch, and even if you're kind of on your phone a little bit, it's worth sort of like a good watch.
Yeah, no, that's actually a movie I need to watch too. I just saw that on HBO Max. I was like, check that out.
Put it back. And the great thing about him that he does, and some people like this and some people don't, he uses the same characters. So you're going to get the same, and it's interesting because it's everyone from like Owen Wilson to Timothy Chalamet. You're going to get a lot of the same sort of people, which is always interesting to you really get to see that they're actors. They're good at what they do. They're good at their craft. And I think that that's something that Wes Anderson does really well.
So it's almost like American Horror Story, like different stories with the same cast.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely need to become a Wes Anderson fanatic. I've always been fascinated by his direction, since every frame is perfectly symmetrical. And I've always wondered, but I never looked this up separately, but always wonder how he achieved that.
As well, he shoots on film as well, which is.
Thank you.
I know how much that costs.
It's expensive.
A lot of studios do not like shooting on film. It's just digital. You get more takes.
Yeah, you
But
just put that overlay on it and you're good.
yeah, and now and I think digital is fine. I mean, you can still probably have like similar quality in the final product, but film is
Film is different.
does not hit the same way.
Film. When you shoot on film, you can see like there's a different texture. There's a heaviness to it. It's almost like when you're listening to music on vinyl. You can replicate
Almost
it.
like the graininess.
Yeah, you can replicate that and post it for sure if you want, but it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah,
Like you got to actually, record it that way. Or, you got to be able to see it like that. So it's just a different element to it. I love when different directors like to go that way to shoot on film because it just feels different.
Euphoria shot on film, right?
They did,
They
Yeah.
shot on what did they shoot? No, they didn't shoot on Anamorphic. They shot on.
I know what you're talking. I listened to something about this.
What is it like? No, not 16 million. Or no, I can't remember. I don't want to speak out of turn, but yeah, I know where you're from. Like it's like one of the rare.
Exactly. Oh yeah, they bought the rest of it, and they had to go out to to Kodak. That's what it is. They actually had to go out to Kodak and have them find more of this film and collect it because they don't make it anymore. That's a specific type of film it is. They started and they didn't realize that they weren't going to make enough. So I think they actually repurposed one of their factories to only make this type of film for like a few months.
Yeah, it's a 35 millimeter Kodak film.
Yeah,
that's expensive.
What they shoot on.
Okay.
I think it's crazy though, and apparently they shot the first season digitally.
Okay, I knew something. They changed something. I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah, and you can tell again something where that all of you guys said that grittiness, that graininess, that heaviness. You can just tell is there for sure.
It's definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the two special episodes that was definitely on film, right?
Oh, one of the, yeah.
Okay.
I need to confirm that, but I can, because I think I want to say he shot whatever he shot Malcolm and Marie on Sam Levinson. He probably shot the same way as the special episode.
Malcolm and Marie was phenomenal.
So I don't know. Whatever he shot Malcolm and Marie on, he probably did the same because they was during the pandemic. Anyway, I'm assuming they were like shot around similar times, but that's a good question though. I'd have to look it up separately.
Okay.
I think I need to go back and watch.
Yeah,
add that to my list.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about Malcolm and Marie while I was watching Euphoria. I was like, man, I need to, because we just did a review on Euphoria season 1 and season 2, like a month ago maybe. That took a long time to get through for me.
Yeah.
It took a while.
Yeah. So Malcolm. But Malcolm and Marie, that was shot on 35 millimeter in black and white. 35 millimeter film. Yeah. So I'm assuming this. I mean, take out the black and white. I'm assuming they shot on film.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an interesting show. But something that I've been watching is a series called Dark on Netflix. And I mentioned this to Derrick last week about how a number of people online have suggested it as one of television's best offerings, and I can see why. It is masterful in every sense of the word, from a filmmaking standpoint, to an acting standpoint, and most importantly, a narrative standpoint. The first season is not for the impatient. So if you're anticipating reviews like every episode, you will not get that. However, I think it is so suspenseful and terrifying when you think of the context of how the mystery is unraveling. And I can't give much away other than that, but the second season is a significant improvement, even though season 1 in and of itself was phenomenal. And that's in large part due to the director, because they actually had one director for the entire show, which is very rare.
That's very
normally
rare.
For projects when you undertake this kind of project, you normally hire multiple directors, but they have one, and I think in turn you have a more defined vision about how he wants to achieve certain things, and the consistency is there, so you don't have directors randomly like infusing their own style because that may be contradictory to how some episodes were filmed or will be filmed, etc. So yeah,
it's always a gamble to make a show a bit slower. It's a tongue twister. Just because, you sometimes are gonna lose people. And Under the Banner of Heaven it's slow. I think that it's one of those shows, but you do get some new information every episode. I tried to watch that show on Prime, Outer Range. And that one it's too slow. And I actually had somebody kind of watch it for me and tell me, and the ending is not worth it. So I would have been so upset because the ending isn't worth it. And so it's one of those where like sometimes moving slow can really benefit. It provides like I'm excited to watch Dark just because it seems like one of those shows where because the storyline is there, it's worth it.
Undoubtedly. And I think what I can say is they open a quote. I'm assuming this will be for the third and final season, but for the first episode, they open with a quote from Albert Einstein, which basically implies that everything is connected. So the future, the past, and the present. And so every character introduced in the show has some connection to the town's tragic history. The tragic history being the disappearances of a young child, and a similar incident that occurred over 33 years ago. So, time plays an important element. I think you know where I'm getting at. And I made the mistake of looking up a certain character's parents. So they confirmed this character was ex-titled to this character. I don't want to say if it's mother or father. And by mistake, I typed in who was such and such's parents. They said such and such is the father, and I read it through. I'm like, what? Yeah, but no, the show Dark is one of those shows where you can't it's almost indescribable to explain its complexity and quality, but I can assure you it is not a regrettable experience. I'm currently on the fourth episode of season 2, and I'm so looking forward to seeing how everything comes together in the end. So I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Yeah,
it's always good with time as a character of the show, of any show or movie.
I think many moments will sort of make. There were 2 plot points I predicted, but the way they executed it was done near perfection. Only because they were integral to like character development, obviously. Because if they choose not to address that until the final season or whatever, then you're purposely withholding information instead of attempting to do something and get something more bold, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my spiel on Dark. If you can't tell already, definitely watch it. And obviously watch the various other projects that Bianca and Derrick mentioned too. So
most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So I guess if you two, I'm not sure if you two had anything more to add, or if you just wanted to move straight to the feature presentation.
Let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. So All the Old Knives. I'm just gonna read out the synopsis just so it's like easier for everyone. This is coming straight from Wikipedia, so just bear with me here as I collect it. So, according to Wikipedia, when the CIA discovers one of its agents leaked information that cost more than 100 people their lives, veteran operative Henry Pelham is assigned to root out the mole with his former lover and colleague, Celia Harrison. And so I guess the most important question is, what are your initial thoughts on the movie?
I thought it was shot beautifully. I think that it's one of those films where you could pause it at any point and you're going to get a very beautiful shot of the scenery, the characters, the lighting is very well. It's a small company who produced the film, right? Kind of like an indie company. I think so when I looked it up, and it shows kind of that like A24 vibes where you can tell that they're really caring about the quality of the work that they're putting out, maybe a bit more than a larger studio. So I thought that that's something that I noticed right off the bat. I was like, when he, kind of driving into the scene, I'm like, oh, we had drone money for this. Okay. Very beautifully shot. And that's one of the first things you sort of notice.
Yeah, it is. It was with Amazon Studios, was Barry Lyndon Motion Pictures and Big Indie Pictures. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that I think it was definitely shot beautifully, but I think I was the one thing that I kept thinking about watching this though was there's this common thread with suspense movies in terms of how they pace the story. It's because there's certain things they'll give you, but just kind of like just a little bit, kind of like tease you, whatever. And this one, this one did that, but kind of like in a different direction. Like it showed you like the main story, and then kind of like fed you little like bits at a time.
What would you have considered the main story? Would you have considered the main story being them presently talking about what was going on, or do you consider the main story the sort of backlog of all the information we're getting about the actual? Can I do like a spoiler?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, you definitely go right ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were
yeah.
responding to. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. If you watch the show, you better have watched the film beforehand.
Or is the storyline the fact that like we are watching them try to figure out the past of like what actually went down with the flight going down? I feel like it really depends on what you consider the main storyline here. And then we get a whole nother storyline with the revenge sort of, or not the revenge aspect. Well, I guess a bit of the revenge aspect in it. So how does that really look?
Yeah, I would say the flight thing is the main story because it's like it's the element that brings everybody together. It's the trauma that everybody is connected to that makes kind of like makes their decisions for them moving forward as to why they are the way they are. So I would say the flight was the main story. But the yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it like that.
When there's just the stories inside of the stories.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of flashbacks. You talk about like pacing it out. That's sort of how they tried to keep pace with everything, is just doing these sort of like flashbacks. But sometimes it was flashbacks to 8 years when the event happened. Sometimes it was flashbacks to 2 years ago when he was in like so you're getting a lot of these flashbacks to tell the story and to keep the pace that you were saying. So it kind of seemed like there was a lot going on, but it all kind of came together pretty nicely.
It did. I like that. I think. Let me ask you something in terms of like one of the with the flashbacks. Do you like that they had Chris Pine, because obviously he's an older guy now. Did he look 10 years younger to you when they were flashing back?
So I feel like actually yes, because they grayed him out very nicely as he got older. And then when the flashback happened, I feel like he had more of like a shaggier type of hair. Actually, yeah, I did look at it, but now that I'm really taking a step back, I think they did a really good job of making him consistently look like he was. Honestly, they may have made him look a little bit too young, because he did look very much,
especially with the short hair.
Right.
Yeah, when they took him back to his informant, or I don't know who was his informant, whoever. They were establishing what their issue was, or the connection was, and he had shorter hair. He looked younger, but you could still see like crow's feet a little bit, and that was my only thing about it, is like they could have de-aged him a little bit. That was my only thing. Like I thought they give
him a lot of gray in the beard and the hair.
Yeah, I thought the beard and the hair color, like I thought that was done very well. But I thought that the skin itself probably could have looked a little more, a little younger.
Okay, that's right.
that's probably my only critique with it is that. But the way they shot, like you can actually, if you flood his face with light a little bit, which I think they did in that the first time they showed him, they flooded his face with light, and you couldn't see wrinkles.
Okay.
So that was kind of like, okay, you're de-aging him without spending too much money. So I get it. But yeah, I think overall I thought they did a great job with pacing. I just sometimes with these suspense movies, I don't know why I get this feeling like sometimes they're still stuck in like the 80s and 90s in terms of how they pace it.
Yeah.
Or how they tell the story itself. I would almost kind of like, I want to see it. I want to see a suspense movie kind of done in the same pacing as an action film sometimes. I want to see if they can do it like that, because I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but sometimes I get like that pacing element seems to be a little cheesy at certain moments.
Yeah, or maybe not so much cheesy, just kind of like rehearsed, like we kind of know how it has to be in order to work.
For it to reveal the story at the end, because there were times where we're seeing like we're seeing Harry and God, what's her name again? Celia. We're seeing them, interact and kind of like walk off, right? Like in the beginning of the movie, she looked at Henry when he walked to the office, and then she just walked off. And I thought that was good because we don't know what her issue is, and they reveal at the end. But it's kind of like, I don't know. It feels like certain reveals are just shot differently than they need to be shot sometimes, and that's what makes it feel like you said, that rehearsed feeling. And that's the only thing with suspense movies that I kind of just wish they would kind of evolve with.
Matthew made a really good point. I would have loved to know ahead of time that he did it, and then would have loved to sort of see him interrogating people with the mindset that we know that he is the one who that he's looking for.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I think because we obviously had like the reveals of like the total reveal of him being the mole. Months later in the film, obviously sort of. I think also what I like, one of the things that I liked is sort of, or really the entire film, is this message of love, in a sense of like how most, if not every character, are motivated because of their loved ones. And so it sort of comes into play of like, because Pelham even mentioned that at some point of like, he is obviously deeply in love with Celia, and I'm assuming, he has so much guilt and remorse over what he did. But the fact of the matter is, there's no reality where he can suddenly, enter society once again and not, pay for his crimes. And even if he doesn't pay for his crimes and, miraculously walks away, the idea of those 100 people dying will always be at the forefront of his mind. And so you see him being manipulated by, I think his name was Shushani.
Oh,
the terrorist. If I can't remember what his name was off the top of my head.
Suleiman.
Yes, exactly. And so, sorry, I apologize. My thoughts are kind of like scattered all over the place. But
no, you're good. You're good.
It just led to like some of the more like interesting aspects of the film, of when you sort of realize sort of his motivation to do what he did, and the large part do to his daughter, and things like that. So it was interesting to discover. I just feel like, for me, if we just knew right out of the gate that he was the mole, and sort of we're focused on the film from his perspective, and then throughout the film we discover, sort of who he was in contact with, what his motivation was, that ultimately led to the death of those 100 passengers. Then I think the film could have benefited from a suspense standpoint, because then it's sort of like characters like finding information about him or questioning him, like, well, what are his overall intentions or things like that. So
Yeah, no, that's
that's
a
something
great
I
point.
possibly would have changed, but then again, this is based off of a book, if I'm not mistaken. I think you mentioned that right before we recorded. So I can't necessarily fault the film for that. I just think that maybe this applies more to the book than the movie itself. Maybe that change could have made it a bit more engaging for me, but this is by no means a terrible movie at all. It's sort of one that I kind of have like this middling feel. But who knows? Maybe by the end of it, I'll give it a 5 out of 5 stars, and.
Well, see, I think even with that though, like even if that was the way that the book was done, you still could have done the film where we're showing him as the mole from the jump, because it's not like you're changing the story, you're just changing how it's paced. So we're just looking at it from a different perspective with the same outcome. And I don't think your source material is too um I don't think it's way off from the source material in that sense. It's the same thing with different perspective.
I think there's enough twist in it, but we didn't necessarily need that to be an added twist. There was enough going on that I liked. But like I said, I feel like if we had known ahead of time, because there was some foreshadowing, just the way that the two of them were looking at each other, the relationship that they have, it makes sense. I think I was surprised that she already knew. I think I was still kind of surprised by that and how that all unfolded. Again, because there were so many sort of little and big twists within it. But other than that, I think overall, yeah, I don't have too many complaints about the movie. I think one thing that I did sort of notice that I really liked too was, again, another character aspect was really the way that they shot it, and the fact that I didn't really notice it till we got to the end, but when we kept coming back from these flashbacks, we are almost getting like closer to their faces. Like the shot comes in tighter, so that by the time that we are figuring out what's happening, that we're also figuring out together as the characters are figuring out the pieces that they didn't know, and now we're like right on their faces, and we flash back and then we're closer to their faces, and I did really like that and feel like that was an interesting element that was nice.
I'm glad you pointed that. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. Go back and it's sort of like we're getting these wide shots, and then I noticed it too. We're getting these wide shots because it's so daylight. It's beautiful outside, and then as the story darkens, it also darkens, and we're getting closer to their faces, and we're figuring out. That. And then the twist of them also not knowing the parts that they played while they both knew. Again, they didn't know the intention behind it, and now we're getting this darkness and the shadow of their faces, and I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, because even some of the sit down scenes too, I can't think of the exact shot, but I feel like it's probably like more medium shots than anything else, or at least like tight middle shots, because the story at the end of the day, it obviously has this like larger like aspect to it, with there being a terrorist attack, but it's very intimate in the way like characters interact with one another. Like there isn't some, like I'll put it like this: there aren't those movie moments where like out of the blue, like everything starts happening. You have like the more like traditional arguments, like everything, like there's more of a subtlety to it that people might actually expect, and that's something like that was sort of like one of my big takeaways is that too. And I know I didn't get a chance to comment before, but the film, like at least from a cinematography standpoint, was done very well.
Oh yeah.
Like at least it definitely in terms of lighting, and I think is a very underrated feature of filmmaking that people don't understand. I'm glad you mentioned that too, with those flashbacks, because it's like it's so integral, and I think and it's something me and Derek talked about too, is that like it plays into the tone of a scene, right? You have lighter, means like a more jovial tone most of the time, right? You go into translate to more darker colors. The chances are, there's more like sinister, or evil aspect to it and things like that.
Yeah.
So
No,
lighting can be lighting can be a really interesting character that sort of plays out through a movie or through a television show.
For sure. No, it's definitely necessary. Like it's one of those things that, because I tell people all the time, there are a few elements that when it comes to film or TV, if you have it and it's done the right way, you're not going to pay attention to it in terms of like it's not going to be something you're going to really notice like that.
But when it's
But
bad,
if you don't have it,
yeah,
it's going to be one of your biggest complaints.
absolutely.
Lighting
Definitely.
and sound. Those are two elements that if you don't have them in the film, if they're not done the right way, it doesn't matter what camera you're shooting on. Right. You could be shooting on one of the worst cameras ever, and it's still going to look okay. It'll still look better if lighting is there. But if you have a film where the audio is horrible, you're out of it. You're not able to be immersed into the film. So those are two elements that people don't give too much credence to, and just overall audience. That's not something you really pay too much attention to, but it's something that you notice when it's not there or when it's not done the right way. So yeah, I thought that my favorite shots are those extreme close-ups because of the fact that it creates that level of intimacy that Henry and Celia had. It forces you to have that level of intimacy with the character that you wouldn't have if you're just sitting there with a wide shot. So no, I love that. Those are great elements for sure.
And now with the ending of the film, would those be considered extreme close-ups or just regular close-ups? Like how far in do you have to go to constitute it as an extreme close-up?
Think of it like this. If you're talking to someone, you're having a regular conversation with someone, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of you're closest to them, but you're not, like, there's still space between you.
Right.
Now, if they are right up here, that's an extreme close-up.
Yeah. Okay.
So
fair enough.
It's extreme close-up is almost like somewhere like in this range. So if you're kind of like just like if you're on someone and you're only looking at their eyes or looking at their mouth, right? Those are extreme close-ups because they're emphasizing something to you. Like the director,
like Quentin Tarantino almost. Like I think of like Kill Bill. I think of Kill Bill for instance.
For example, he does a lot of extreme close-ups. So it's to emphasize something. So with this film, when you're looking at their eyes, that's intimacy right there, right? So like you're looking at someone's eyes and you're having a conversation with them. Doesn't matter if they're just a friend, if it's a actual like relationship, like love interest or whatever. Like there's a level of intimacy that you have when you're looking at someone in their eyes. So they're forcing you to have that intimacy with the character when you're looking at Celia's eye, like, and it was just one eye for a good portion. It's just looking at her right eye, and then with Henry, you're looking at both of his eyes because you're able to see like the life drain out of him, right? So like they're emphasizing something to you, that there's this connection that they have that they already had that they kind of ignored, because of whatever. They're showing you that connection is still there, and that's just another way to immerse the audience into the story.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think now I've grown like a much deeper appreciation for the way films are shot. I just tend to notice those aspects in the film more, especially since I figured there were intentions behind it because both of them sort of had this underlying love for one another, but given the circumstances, we're just not able to express it. For very obvious reasons. And something I did want to bring up, and this is sort of like plays into the more haunting elements of the story, is there's a quote that the plane hijacker stated, which was, the real people around the world, it was they refer to themselves as real people around the world, the powerless who will strike back. And so I was just sort of wondering for you two, like, what do you think that means in terms of like the characters, right? Because it's very obvious that they probably could have come from very, like obviously come from very specific circumstances, and so they're looking to like send a message to the world. But I was just wondering, like, is that a line you sort of picked up on and sort of what that meant, for the characters?
I always think that when you have a aspect of like terrorism or anything like that, they're always, most of the time, like actual terrorism, it comes from a place of loyalty. It comes from a place of wanting, circumstances to change or something like that. And I think much like it's good that they allowed a little bit of character development even within just the villain, because we don't always get that sometimes it's just like, this is a bad person, this is a villain, that's fine, that's good enough. And that could have been what that is. This is a terrorist, we don't really think anything of it. But I think that added aspect of like, like you said, the powerless, are the ones who can really come together and be more powerful. It also speaks to like how everybody at the beginning of the movie was just a central person. It was it Bill who was like the father to her, then it was her. Everybody was doing something, moving individually, but when they all came together, it created a terrible casualties. It was because she, they loved each other. They had never been together. When the threat of her even be something that could be, put over him, how they come together. And then the fact that Bill is back into this years later and how he was almost going to be a scapegoat and she wouldn't let that happen. I think that that's really interesting that these characters, once they come together, they created a powerful force that was, again, very, very negative to one another.
For sure. I have nothing to add to that.
I just found it to be like sort of an interesting description of them, where they sort of had this painfully I have the right word. Sorry, give me like 10 seconds, because I was I had the right word to describe it. It's like this painfully ignorant perspective on themselves, where they think that taking of innocent lives is somehow going to like be this empowering thing, when in actuality, you are setting up more parameters for acts like that to hopefully never occur again. But as we look into, today's world, that is very much not the case. And we do see, the repeated taking of lives. And I think the film is a nice commentary on that. And also the commentary of sort of like the guilt, or sort of the elements someone can feel in the aftermath of such, tragedies. Even though Henry's decisions were totally unjustifiable. I think a person who does try to justify it, it should be very concerned.
I think one thing that really stood out to me with this one, though, is like office romance. That's, to me, see, I can't speak to it on that level, because I never had a job where anything that I do is directly connected to like millions of people's lives and their survival, right? Never had anything like that. But that's one of the biggest reasons as to why I would never date anyone I'm working with, because you can't focus on what you're working on. Like, you're focused on them a lot of the times, and that's the element with this story that you could see that was very prevalent.
It's a love story, and if you don't really think about that, and it's very interesting, because I mean, it's like when Matthew said at the beginning, I was like, I don't really know, but like, it's so true, because it's like they're all just tied together. Like, if Matt is just like you said, if Henry didn't love Cecilia and they didn't love each other, then Cecilia has love for Bill, and now Cecilia has created a whole life for each other, so she doesn't want to affect her kids, but she doesn't want to throw Bill under the bus either. So it is just everybody trying to like love each other, but just this reminder that, like everything else in life, love is not black or white. There's guilt and fear and much that is added on top of it, and we're watching it play out in a way that not only affects the characters, but also unfortunately affected like hundreds of people, thousands of people's lives, just the ripple effects of it all.
Right. This is one of the few occasions where, like, love tends to be this very, I'm trying to think. I think it's something like Death on the Nile, for instance, where, and, me and Derrick were very outspoken about the film. In fairness to it, it was outdated, but they kept doing this, like, there's obviously like, the thing about what I like about this film was that love is obviously integral to Celia and Henry, but I don't feel like they hammer, like, it's not like every single scene they're constantly like discussing it, because there's a lot like larger issue they have to address, for the story.
Point. They were still getting their jobs done. They were still working. Like, they were following up on leads, talking to folks. They were doing their jobs. That's a very, very interesting, realistic point, that they actually were working.
And because there's nothing wrong with sort of having, your loved ones in the back of your mind.
Right.
But as professionals, specifically, within the CIA, right? Like your primary responsibility, right, is to monitor problems on the domestic or international level, right? So, and that's aspect of the film I definitely I appreciated, because definitely could have gone too far in some ways, where it was just constant awkwardness. And I think sort of what Bianca mentioned earlier is the flashback allowed for us to at least be given full context, and not we're spending too much time on them going to confess love to one another, even though kind of leads to a very depressing ending nevertheless, so
but think about this too, though. Would Henry's reasoning for doing what he did, giving the information out and all that stuff, would his reason have stayed the same if they didn't have that love connection? If they were just co-workers, would he have given that information out as well?
No.
That's why you can't. That's why it's I get it. Y'all working a lot together and all that stuff.
No,
but you can't have that inner office romance, man.
Exactly. And I'm glad you did. Yeah, exactly.
He would have been like, you know what? She did bring in donuts every Monday.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go ahead and let my good sis go.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but the terrorists sort of used Henry, worked with him in the past.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. I just want to clarify that. And then
they did do that very quickly, where they kind of mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was under that assumption, because I found it weird. I'm assuming they had a brief mention of it. That's why I wanted to clarify that. But I think it was made fairly obvious to the audience that they had a history with one another. And sort of but. You are totally right in saying that love is definitely at the center of the story, but isn't done in a way that, at least for me anyways, isn't done in a way that sort of takes away from the more suspenseful parts.
It definitely doesn't. It's just one of those things. It's an
added benefit.
It's an added benefit. Yeah, I think it's like a feature part of the film. It's not the main character of the film, and I like that. I like that they didn't hammer it too much. You got your sex scenes and all that stuff, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't anything like that. I mean, it's obviously it was very it was a driving force in a way, but it wasn't something that was overdone. I didn't feel like this was a love movie. I felt like this was a suspense film that had romance in it.
All movies are about women. They all tie back to it. It's either the women you used to love, want to love, the women you came out of. It all ties back. You're gonna be hard pressed to find a movie that does not have to tie back to some sort of connection to that. Honestly,
that is a great point, because I can't remember a movie.
Yeah,
even Brokeback Mountain was like that too, because these guys are married, right? So they have to sneak to a mountain
exactly
because the woman that they're with, right?
It's always something.
It's always something. Yeah. That's interesting. I never thought about it like that. Wow.
Or they're blaming their mamas. That's the theme of their movie. Yeah. It's my mom made me this way. I have to do something.
Yeah. That is so interesting. I never thought about it. Now that's going to be an element that I'm looking for in shows. What
woman did this man wrong?
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Let's see.
I will say though, I thought Vic was gonna. I thought they were gonna make him the mole. That was one thing. Lawrence Fishburne's character.
Oh yeah, I did too. I
thought they were
going to be more involved.
I thought he was gonna be more involved, but I thought they were gonna put it on him.
That's what I mean. I thought he was going to be more involved in just the scheme of how everything plays out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was only. I didn't see that coming. I'll
Character
put it
who
like
just did their job. A character who just went to work and did their job. Just put the task force together, got to work.
Yeah.
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 I said that I don't know why I thought it was Henry like going into the film because I was tempted to also say the same that it was going to be Lauren Fishburne's character, but then I said something tells me that instead of going like the very obvious route, they're going to do like this weird like 180 turn. You come to find out like the protagonist we're supposed to root for is like the technical villain.
Yeah.
Turns out to be the case. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a bold decision.
Yeah.
And that's why it sort of made me, as Bianca mentioned before, was it would have been interesting if right out of the gate we knew he was the mole.
Right.
And the rest of the film is sort of, are the characters in search of him.
Yeah.
Like the very person they're searching for is sitting at the desk across from them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that really could have been, drilling in a way. To see, and then obviously we discover what his motivations are in a similar fashion. But yeah, this was I think now I have a better appreciation of having this conversation with you two. So I think if I'm not sure if you two had anything more at least you wanted to add in terms of
film, honestly.
Yeah.
It was a short little film, pretty straightforward. The twist was nice, an easy watch.
Yeah. So I
agree
think
with that.
Yeah, so I think with that, I guess we want to give our ratings.
Yeah.
Finish up here.
B, we do a ratings 1 out of 5 ticket stubs.
1 out of 5. Okay. Can I give it like a 3? A 3.5? 3.5?
Yeah, you can do it. You can do half.
I'm gonna give it a solid 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Derrick?
I think I'm actually going to do 3.5. I want to say 4, but I'm going to say 3.5 because I thought that certain elements of it could have been done a little differently. Now that you say that that the reveal at the beginning could have like benefited this story in another way, that's probably what's keeping me from giving it to a 4. Because
2 hours. We could have gotten an extra 15, 20 minutes.
It could have. I was actually shocked at how short it was.
Yeah. I think I was thinking that. I was like, an extra 15, 20 minutes to develop some of this actually probably would have been really nice.
Yeah. And I think I was tempted to give it a 2.5, but I upped it. So that was going to be my original score, but I upped it to a 3 since having this conversation, now I have like a clear, I think it's more like in the middle. Literally on the 1 through 5 spectrum anyway, range anyway. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely not a bad watch by any means. I don't expect this to be like a film that is remembered in years time. But I think what they spoke on, was fascinating in its own way. Chris Pine. We can talk about the performances, but I think no surprise that the performances are great across the board. So so I think that's what I'm saying.
Sounds good. Well, again, everyone, and we didn't get to mention this at the beginning of the episode, but we didn't have a feature presentation for you guys this last week, so apologies, but we'll make up for it this week. We're gonna have 2 feature presentations for you guys this week. So this will come out, as you see, on Tuesday, and then our next one will be Adam Sandler's film Hustle. That's gonna be we're gonna discuss that on Friday. So stay tuned for that. Bianca, thank you for joining us for this episode. Please give everybody your social media handles and where they can find you if you want them to find you.
I mean, there's not much to find. My Instagram is at southern_spicy. I think it's true to me for sure. My tagline is neither quality nor quantity. So if you would like to follow, please come on. And then on Twitter, I am Durant No Kevin. My last name is Durant, and so I'm Durant No Kevin on Twitter. So thanks.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, as always, just Instagram Matt_T29. As always, thank you for the support, and thank you, Bianca, for joining us today. I think we loved having you, And thank you for contributing to the conversations. We really appreciate it.
Having me, it was great. And yeah, I do. I want to come back and we're going to talk about one series shows that are great.
I'm looking forward to that because I want to rewatch that series anyway.
Yes.
So that's a perfect excuse to do it. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Derrick_OTS. That's DERRICK, the black way to spell it. And but most importantly, please follow the brand at OTS Media Co. All social media platforms. I've been slacking on posting on Instagram this last week, so apologies for anybody that's just been looking at things that it's just been there for the last couple of days. But I'm gonna get back into the swing of things this week. So please follow, let us know what you guys think, rate, review the podcast on any social media platform you're on, so we get an understanding of what you guys, want to be able to see or hear from us. Give us suggestions on any film or show, and we will definitely give it a shot. But please, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you have not done that already. OTS Media on YouTube. And honestly, you can find everything on our link in our bio. So I'm gonna shut the hell up and let you guys get on your way. So thank you guys for watching and or listening, and we'll catch you guys later this week.
Peace, guys. Thank you.